Hello and welcome back to Indalo Model Railway. Well, I've been having a couple of little issues, and in particular this point here, I've been having some issues with this. It seems to be that I think the point maybe buckles here. I know there was an extension put in just there to come from the end of this turnout here to join to this turnout. That is an issue, so I really need to get rid of that. And I think there is a buckle in here because when I tend to run a train or something over it, if you can watch this very closely, it does actually derail sometimes, but if it doesn't, it does dip to the side. You see that just there? It's dipping to the side. And why that is dipping to the side is because just here is raised slightly. It's low there where that cut is. Well, I've joined it, but as you can see, it moves and it does derail. The shorter wagons don't like this. So anyway, the solution. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to replace it with this medium radius turnout. Now, I've got a couple of options here. One, I can actually bring it back so it fits exactly where these two are here, just like this. But that will obviously impede on this turnout here. So I've got a happy compromise that I can actually go forward a little bit because this is a 12.5-degree radius. And at some point, I'm going to have to maybe make a cut into this turnout. Now, of course, this is actually moving the actual point motor as well, which is just there. There's the pin for the point motor. It's going to be moving that back about another inch and a half. Now, bearing in mind, there is actually a point motor here. So they're not that far apart. And if we look underneath the baseboard, we can see how close those two are. So I've probably really only got about, I would say, an inch and a half in between those two. So I could come forward a little bit over to here and make this still work. So that means that I'm probably going to be bringing this point motor with a pin to about there. Well, will that work? So if I was to actually put that about there, that would mean, if I line it all up, that the angle works quite well. You see it lines up there. Because what I didn't want to do is actually start to move two pieces of track, especially across this crossing, because I'd have to obviously dig all this up, move it all across. If I was to actually butt this up at this end of the point, i.e. there, that's right at the end of the point, you'll see now how far this has come. So I'd have to really start to move this track in a lot, no matter what one I'm going to line up with, that one or that one. All this would have to be dug up. But if I bring it back enough to actually line up with the angles, and I've still got space here, that if I was to cut that point, this turnout, just about here, that would be eliminating this, which is the problem. Probably the buckling of that, I'm just going to be cutting into that point a little bit. Now, the other issue that I've got, if I do that, let me line it up again, about there, will this point motor be able to come through? Now, if I was to just remove it in line, so it is going to be roughly where that other hole is. You see there's a hole there, probably for a pin. So I'm moving it about an inch to the right. So what I'm going to be doing is moving this point motor over here. See the pin? This is the pin that moves the actual turnout here. I'm going to be moving it across here. I've got a little bit of leeway, but I've got to be careful because I can't even turn this one around because I've got a support, so I can't move that either. So it is a little bit challenging. I think, you know, once I've got these two closer together, that's going to be the right thing to do. So what I'm going to do now is attempt to firstly remove this old electrofrog point. I'm going to do it very carefully because I think I can still use this, but the main problem that I was having, as I say, this is actually, you can't really see it too well on the video, but if I go like that, you might be able to. There you go. You see it dips down, it comes down. I did put actually a little spacer in there, but over time, this one's been okay. This side's been okay. It's nice and level, but that one has sunk and there's a problem. And it was a bit of a long shot because these two were a little bit short, and I put in a gap fill there, a spacer, and I thought to myself, well, it may work, it may not, and it worked for a while, but obviously here where I live in Spain, we do have some variation in weathers. I mean, at the moment we're at sort of 35, 36, even though I can have the aircon in here in the train room, it still gets very hot. So obviously there's a lot of expansion and contraction, which you really need to take into account when you're laying track, especially in a hot country or even a cold country. You're going to have variation. This is metal and it will actually move. So this really I need to take out. So I'm going to take this out, all this out, this point here, this turnout, take it out. And I might be able to reuse this, as I say, take that out from there to there, and maybe use it on another project, providing that it's okay. Take out this gap fill here, and then relay this new medium radius turnout. Get it lined up in about that position, like that. So that all lines up very, very nicely. So if I can get that cut in with my Dremel, that would be very nice. But as I said, the challenging point was that point motor. Could I move that over right enough that it wouldn't hinder on this one here, and this one would still work? Anyway, I'm going to get on with that now off camera, and I'll show you how I've got on in a moment. Okay, I've now cut the space for the new turnout to go in and measured it correctly, cleaned up some of the area. I still need to drill the new hole for the pin for the turnout motor to go into, and also the frog needs to be put in as well. But I've actually tested it and it seems to fit reasonably well. In terms of length, and it's just a case of getting it all lined up, and once it's lined up I think it will be very good. So it does fit into there. Obviously I've got to move these a little bit, but it does fit. So I'm gonna now connect all this up in terms of actually putting it on the track. I probably won't connect the electroflog and the motor yet, but I will just connect it up with the fish plates and clean all the area up and just see how it goes with a loco running over it. Hello and welcome back. So I've now installed the new medium radius left hand turnout point that I've actually cut into here and into here. I've got a little weight there at the moment because this, I've taken the spring out for the motor, the tortoise motor. I just need to keep it to one side. but I seem to have no issues with locos running in both directions through that point. I've actually taken out my level crossing because I thought there was an issue here, but I'm going to re-put that in again. And in terms of actually going up the other direction, which is taking the left-hand turnout and going up the incline, we can do that. If I just move the weight over to keep the point open for now. And then we'll see, comes through, no issues. So there we have it. So I've replaced that short left-hand turnout that was giving me some issues with a medium radius left-hand turnout that hopefully will not give me any issues. The only thing I need to do now is re-establish the 2 point motors here and here. The pins will be so very close. So if we go underneath, you'll see the 2 motors are hanging down at the moment, and they basically have to go in. If you can see, that was the original hole there, but one has to go here. This is the new one, and that's the original one. So they have to go effectively, that has to go in there, and it's very, very close, that second one, as you can see. But hopefully, I'm trying to do this with one hand, the leading edge of the motor, which is going to be like that, will just get in, so I can actually put them both in place. But as I say, I've actually moved it over, if you can see, probably about 1 1/4 inches from there to there, which really relates to it being moved from that hole up to about here, which is very close to this pin. But hopefully, once I get those all lined up and working again, it'll be fine. But that's the replacement of the medium radius left-hand Electrofrog turnout.